So, hey, everybody, Dave and Jennifer, we are having a day. I'm sitting in my truck. It is pouring down rain in the Hudson Valley, and it has been one storm after another. We've had 55-mile-per-hour winds yesterday on the way up here. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a tough go, and we've been having to break down and set up over and over again. So, really trying us, but we're going to be there. We're all set up for 3 o'clock.
Sounds good. I mean, it's funny. The topic that we're talking about today is contingency plans. So it almost seems fitting. Welcome everybody to Building Modular. And Dave, maybe you can just check you probably can't check your LinkedIn on your end, can you? Are you there?
I can check on my end. So we're live on all locations. Jennifer, I know you're filling in on the technical stuff right now. So, all right. So let's hop into it, Jen.
Yeah. So welcome everyone
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you hearing me? Excellent.
Go ahead.
Well, today we are in week 35 of Building Modular. And like I said, it's kind of fitting because the topic is DeRisk your project using offsite construction. And today, you're live in the Hudson Valley. You're in New York earlier today and this afternoon. And oh my gosh, they're super pixelated on my end. Not sure if you're coming through.
Well, we're in the mountains. That's what happens in the mountains. So keep going, Jen.
Yeah, so basically 35 weeks of talking about building modular and how volumetric construction offers advantages. And we welcome everybody if you've been using volumetric construction for a while, if you're new to offsite construction, if you're a homeowner considering whether or not to use volumetric modular construction, we welcome you. And what we want to do is share some inside information in terms of what some of the advantages are when using modular construction. So like I said, today's topic is contingencies. And some of you are wondering what exactly is a contingency. And essentially what it is on this show previously, we've talked about coming up with your estimate, coming up with your contract price. Many builders do leave allowances in their contracts. You know, we strongly recommend that you tidy up all of those allowances because working with a manufacturer, working with a fixed supplier where between 75 and 85% of the work is complete in the factory, there really shouldn't be a whole lot left to allowances. And here we go. We're trying to bring Dave back in.
All right. Listen, there you are. You said I look better. Really? Right. Thanks. I appreciate you putting up the. So, yeah, we have all kinds of weather issues in the Northeast and really affecting our streams and everything that we're doing. Jennifer, was that your internet that just went down or mine?
I think it's on your end, but I've been having trouble here too. So it could be a combination of things.
All right. Well, keep rocking and rolling in it. I'm going to sit here and work on some things behind the scenes. I'll hop back in a minute.
Okay, sounds great. So what we're talking about is your construction contract and allowances and construction contingencies. So a construction contingency is typically an amount of money that's set aside to cover any unexpected costs that can arise during a construction project. It's on reserve. It's not specifically allocated to any one area of work. Essentially, the contingency acts as an insurance against any unforeseen costs, anything that you might bump into during the build or on the job site. And a lot of times builders request somewhere, 1%, 5%, it varies depending on who you are and where you're building. But what we're trying to share with you is that when you use offsite construction, so many things are already determined in advance up front, where not much is left to the contingency. Really, oftentimes that contingency is rarely used, if at all. So what are some of the things that causes risk? You know, what are some of the things that you're trying to address on the job site, or could bump into on the job site that you want to put some contingency money into your contract for? And how does modular construction offset that need? Well, one example of common construction project risks is something that Dave had bumped into earlier today at the Unity job site in the Hudson Valley, which is adverse weather conditions. Because, you know, once you're on site, depending on where you are, heat, storms, snow, ice, all of these things can cause delay on the job site. Because using offsite construction, you're building indoors in a controlled environment, you limit that opportunity for poor weather to interrupt your schedule. Like I said, 75 to 85% of your project arrives on site complete. So that limits the time that you're actually on the job site. And typically the structure is weather tight within 1 or 2 days of being installed on site. So again, you're really de-risking your project because you're limiting the amount of time that you're on site. So that's one example of where there's a major advantage using offsite construction. What else? Industrial disputes. You know, labor is a very hot topic with the construction industry right now. If you had watched yesterday the update with Greg Ugaldi and Dave Cooper, we were talking about IBS going virtual this year, and the keynote speaker this year is actually Mike Rowe. And one of his hot topics is, you know, labor shortage and the trades and you know, how do we get more people into this industry? How do we get more people as, you know, workers are aging out, retiring out of the business? So definitely IBSX will be really great with Mike Rowe, sharing his point of view on that topic and how we get people excited about coming into the trades. So as it relates to either industrial disputes or labor shortage, the great thing about offsite construction and how that differs from traditional site-built construction is that your trade labor is going to the same job site day in and day out. It doesn't vary by client. It doesn't vary by job. Each day they are going to the same factory, the same location, the same time of day in a very controlled environment. So that's another way that the labor pool, even though we're struggling as well in offsite construction, we need more younger folks getting into the trades. It's easier. It's easier to get workers to come and go to the same location than it is to travel from job site to job site. That might be 50 miles apart, 100 miles apart, maybe not even that far apart, but in urban locations or high density locations, traffic can be such a bear. We struggle with that here in the Northeast for sure. So these are ways that you mitigate that risk with offsite construction. What else? Something that also has been a hot topic lately is supply interruption or supply failure. Because with offsite construction, decisions are made in advance, there aren't allowances left to be determined on the job site often. Some builders may still do that, but essentially here with the planning process and offsite construction, what you want to do is get your client to commit to all of those decisions up front, because oftentimes the factory will order all of those supplies, all of those materials, have everything on hand before the project goes online. So what does that mean? That means you're not waiting for, you know, maybe a special order item, a special order bathtub, or a special order door. All of the materials are there at the factory before the project goes online. So that is another way that offsite construction helps you de-risk your project and mitigate those needs for contingencies. So let's keep going here. bear with me. Normally, you know that Dave is at the controls. Now I get to drive. It's kind of fun. What else? What else can cause delays on the job site or, you know, create issues down the road? Here's another common issue: incomplete drawings or specifications. If something is left open on the drawings, if something is left TBD on the drawings, with factory production, you can't do that. You know, we talked about this with, oh my gosh, oh, it escapes me, but essentially we had architects on our show who then opened their own factory and became their own GCs of their project. And what they were saying is the level of detail included on the drawings, included on the shop drawings, is far more robust than typically left for an on-site build. Every single detail, every single fixture, every single you know, dimension line and selection is typically included on those shop drawings prior to going on into production. So again, this is something that helps de-risk your project and help mitigate that need or that opportunity for delays. Oh, are you with us?
I am sitting out here. Looks like the rain stopped and the clouds are moving out again, I hope. But you're absolutely right, Jen. So incomplete drawings or specifications, I mean, again, it's paying attention to details. It's always about paying attention to the details and really understanding what is on the plan and building it twice, right? The digital twin, as we call it. And I think that's super, super important. So hopefully my signal is coming through okay for everybody. I made some changes to the banner, Jen. You were doing a great job on the tech. It's great. I mean, no.
Oh, I think I'm losing you again.
Continue on.
All right. So, yes, we were talking about, excuse me, incomplete drawings or specifications. And yeah, that's what all of those details need to be filled in. And again, this comes with experience. If you're new to offsite construction and really combing through your plans, this is where the factory can also be your partner, because what will happen is there will be multiple reviews of those plans. First, you'll do your own review, but then the factory typically will go through it with a fine-tooth comb and really identify if there's any missing information or need for a fill in the blanks, again, before that home goes on the production line. This is something else, unknown site conditions. So Dave, you're on. I
got a lot of that
here. So, yeah. You know.
So we are on location, you know. Yeah, do I have a delay, huh? Man, I'm not used to not having like the best internet service. I'm sitting in my truck right now, all of our field stuff down below. But one of the things that's super, super, you know, important about this unknown site conditions is weather plays a big part in it. It has rained and rained and rained and rained and rained here. Mess. Everything's wet. It's muddy. It's hard to move around. So I think, you know, understanding what happens with the weather and unknown site conditions as well, I think they play hand in hand a lot of times because you just don't know what's going to come of it. But we are still moving along because they are prepared with the machines that they need to move the product around, which is great. And we already have half a house put together.
Yeah, we definitely can't wait to see that later. And I know that you're planning to go back on at 3 p.m. today and twice again tomorrow, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be on at 3 p.m. today. And then again, at weather permitting, like this morning, it was raining too hard. We can't have all the gear out in the rain. Unfortunately, it does not do well underwater. But so 3 o'clock today, 10 a.m. tomorrow, hopefully at 3 p.m. tomorrow, we'll be putting trusses on top of this house already. So in 2 days, we're going to have the whole system up. And wait until you see the system. I mean, and you don't really get how thick these walls are and how well they're sealed, and the Sega tape and everything that they're using on this house until you see it. And we're going to show that in detail with Jay Lepley here in hopefully about an hour and a half from now, or give or take.
That sounds great. So, I mean, this is another thing that drives up cost, right? Unexpected cost, because, you know, where you are out in a big field, you may need additional equipment based on the torrential downpour. You know, you may need to go grab a bulldozer or some machines to help you get where you're going, you know, extra tarps. So these are things that, you know, sometimes are built into a contract price as contingencies. Hopefully you don't need them, but if you do, the money is there.
Yeah, 100%. You know, but they have this stuff here. I mean, this is a wooded lot. It's in the Hudson Valley, so it's beautiful. They kind of knew they would need some of this stuff, especially if it rained. Why don't we say hello to a few people real quick?
Yeah, sounds great.
John, you lived it. I am living it, right? Adverse conditions, adversity this morning, but that's just part of going live. And is weather, and hey, listen, it's like life. If it can go wrong, it will, you know, and it's just, you just got to roll with the punches while we're out here. George Ryman says, good morning. We've had 5 minutes of rain in the past 5 months. Well, we've had 5 inches of rain in the past 5 minutes, you know, right. Is what it's been going on here. So it's kind of earlier. Buzz, I do have my boots on. It's a muddy mess. So we have our boots on, and we're just dealing with the mud as it comes. And I know I'm probably going in and out, and Jennifer's probably cringing, wondering what's going on. But all right, Jennifer, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, no, that's great. So again, you know, contingencies are just that, adding extra money into the contract where you don't know where you might need them, where you might bump into trouble. But when you're building offsite, when you're building in a controlled environment and your time on site is limited, that's how you de-risk some of your projects. You know, you really get all of that work done offsite before you get to the job site. And that way you don't have to deal with the adverse weather conditions that Dave is dealing with at the moment. So what else? What else have we talked about recently that have been really hot topics? You know, the availability of building materials. We definitely, in this pandemic environment, had a major supply chain interruption. And if you have a project that you've started on site and all of a sudden your windows are on back order or your doors are on back order, that definitely leads to significant time delays. So again, the power of offsite construction is the factory works really hard to get all of those materials there on site before they start things on the production line. Now, that can be a little bit frustrating as well when you place your order with the factory and they're, you know, it's not scheduled for weeks or possibly months out. That definitely can be frustrating. We've experienced that in the past as well, but really you would so much rather that everything be there, everything be ready to go before the build starts. And even though your homeowner or your client might have to wait a little bit longer, in the end, they will probably agree that getting the entire project delivered as ordered is much better than having, you know, partial delivery or a partial build with, you know, time lags or material delays dragging out the completion of that project. So what else do we have in here? We talked about the labor shortage, and again, in that controlled environment at the factory, it is easier to get a steady workforce. And it's also easier to train people and cross-train people in different roles in a factory setting. It's a little bit harder to teach in the field on a job site, especially in some of those outdoor weather elements like we were talking about earlier. All right, so let's see what else we have. One last thing, another hot topic that came up, the price of lumber increased dramatically. I think at one point it was up 117%. And so that's why contingencies are still critical to include in your contract, because what we experienced this year was something probably nobody could have predicted a year earlier. But again, offsite construction helps you mitigate some of this because the factories are ordering supplies so far out. So these are some of the common risks that typically are addressed with construction contract contingencies. And hopefully you learned a little bit about how offsite construction can help you offset some of those risks that are always present on a new job site. And speaking of job site, maybe you can see a little bit of that in the background. Dave, can you hear us?
Yeah, so hopefully you guys can hear me. That was some of the panels, the Bensonwood panels going by. They're taking it down to the job site for the set. So yeah, they just keep coming in. I mean, like I said, we almost got a whole house ready. So in a very short amount of time. So back to you, Jen. Sorry, I'm just jumping in when I know my signal is good enough to do so.
That's okay. We are actually going to wrap it up because I really want to save our audience to come back at 3 o'clock and watch some of the live installation between you and Jay, because even though it's a panelized construction set that you guys are doing today, there's so many similarities in terms of how that gets attached to the foundation, how the pieces come together. So there's a lot of similarities, and there's also a lot of people out there who are using both volumetric modular and panelized.
Yeah, very much. Hey, listen, we just in hybrid approach, right? Just like we had last Tuesday with the SIPS modulars. So I think there's room for everybody in this market, and modular is good for where it's at, and panelized is good for where this is at right now. And I think that 3 o'clock today is going to be very telling. So if this weather holds out, it's going to be a very, very, very detailed conversation. And if you guys know Jay Lepley, he's got his stuff together, man. And he's in shape. He's out there killing himself working, boy.
Yeah, well, he's out there crushing it every day, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I keep on giving the thanks out, to SIGA, our sponsor, having us up here. Thank you for allowing us to do this with them. We're going to bring a lot of their products to everybody as well today.
Yeah, what's really neat, and again, this is a shared advantage with volumetric modular as well, the precision-based construction methods that you can execute, first in the factory and then in the field. I mean, those panels are unbelievable with the MEPs and the insulation and how it comes together. So we're really looking forward to some of those products, especially the windows that are all installed at the factory. So that'll be really great to see how that comes together, because again, I'm not sure if this house is going for passive house standards, but it is certainly a high performance home, and that is one tight building envelope that is well sealed.
Yeah, very, very much so. Like I said, wait till you see the detail on these walls and how thick and how well they're sealed up. It's very impressive. And we showed a little bit this morning, if people joined us, how they pack these and ship them here. So stay tuned. 3 o'clock. It's not far away. 1:30, 2:33, hour and a half. We'll be at it.
So before you sign off, Dave, we have one more comment. Looks like we have Greg joining us today. Thank you so much. And
what's happening, Mr. Ugaldi?
And he says, yes, just after discussion regarding NAHB efforts to reduce lumber cost, and today the Commerce Department lowers the tariff from 20% to 9%. And that is a huge deal.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's great. I mean, that's great. That was part of our conversation yesterday with Greg, and what we were going over with lumber costs and all the different things. So I'm glad he shared that update with us. It's, it's something that's only going to help. I mean, we have an affordable housing crisis in this country, and having lumber costs that add, $17,000 to the average house does not help build those homes. So that's good news.
Yeah, no, and we know that for every $1,000 that those home prices go up, hundreds of thousands of people are priced out of the market. So, this is another example of how the NAHB works on the behalf of all the builders, whether or not you're a member, but essentially working really hard with all of the government agencies to secure the best path for builders going forward.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, Jennifer, I'm going to sign off here. I'm pixelating.
Yes, you are. And thank you to everyone for bearing with us today. Dave and I are both having major technical issues. Personally, right before we hopped on here, we had a major bloody nose in this house with one of our daughters. So all sorts of tech issues this morning and this afternoon. So thanks for sticking with us.
Keep going.
And tune in next week. We'll be back at 1 p.m. But don't forget, at 3 o'clock today, we'll be bringing to you the Bensonwood installation of a Unity home, the Zoom prefab, very contemporary style. So that's really exciting. And also exciting is that we have our guest tomorrow coming to us from MyTech. And on Thursday, we have Spencer Powell. You may know Spencer from Builder Funnel, and he'll be a really great guest on Thursday, Increasing Influence with Miles Biggs.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we got Friday. I think, isn't this Friday Corbett?
No, that's next Friday is
next Friday.
Corbett. But this Friday, we are featuring the work of FAR Architects. And if you are familiar with their product, again, leading the way in terms of sustainability and passive house standards and amazing design, bringing amazing design and building it better than code. Another example of that this Friday.
Building it better in code, because that's what we do at Dave Cooper Live, right? We bring people in the processes that are building it better, building systems, building codes, right? Building science, dude. Love it. All right, Jennifer, and everybody else. Andrew Seeley, thank you for telling us to hang in there. I mean, it has been a day, but we're going to have some fun now. It looks like we might have some clearing in the sky. And Jennifer, hopefully you get some clearing in the kids' noses at home so we don't have bloody noses no more. All right.
Yeah, I have a bit of a mess to clean up here, but it's all good.
All right, everybody. We will see you at 3 o'clock here in about an hour and a half. I'm Dave Cooper. Jennifer, this is an episode of Building Modular plus bloody noses plus rain. It's a mixed show. With that, so thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye now.